Good morning. Today's gospel passage is often referred to as Jesus' first miracle, turning the water into wine at the wedding at Cana. Remarkably or unusually, this story only appears in John's gospel, not in Matthew, Mark, or Luke. And if you look closer at the Greek translation of the turning the water into wine, it actually translates closer to a sign than to a miracle. This is the first sign of Jesus and his power that is one of the 7 signs that are in the Gospel of John. So maybe it's a little bit more tangible for us to draw our connection to sign rather than miracle, although I don't hesitate to say that I believe in miracles. But signs point us to something beyond themselves, as road signs alert us to something that lies ahead or before us. You know, the curvy signs, you better slow down, or there's a stop sign, you see something flashing. But the sign of Jesus changing the water into wine at Cana at that wedding points to something far more valuable than the wine itself, as fine as that wine may have been. In this story, the sign is of extravagance and of abundance, and it points us to the source of all life and joy, Jesus himself. Now, one could spend a whole sermon talking about the interplay between Jesus and his mother. What do you mean? I don't have anything to do with it. Anyway, but that's not what I'm focusing on today. But in Jesus, in God made flesh, we just celebrated Jesus' birth not that long ago. In God made flesh, we are given a sign of abundant life, of extravagant love and grace upon grace. That doesn't mean that with Jesus in our lives that life is going to be a piece of cake or easy or without challenges or heartbreaks. But it does mean that we, in the midst of these heartbreaks and difficulties, we are never alone, that God in Christ is with us. And no matter what happens, life overcomes death. Light shines in the darkness, and love always wins. This weekend, we commemorate the life and teachings of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. As we all know, King devoted his life to nonviolence, to justice, and to the dream of a world where people are not judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. King became the president of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and suddenly became a figure of national prominence in spite of his own doubtfulness. He was leader of a movement for social justice, for desegregation, for equality for all people, and for voting rights for people of color. No more could his witness be necessary than in our country today, where states are enacting laws to take away the right to vote, or at least to make it harder, if not nearly impossible, to vote. I want to share a quote from Dr. King that's applicable today as it was when he said it in 1957. 1957, 65 years ago. And I quote, "All types of conniving methods are still being used to prevent Negroes from becoming registered voters," and I would add to vote. "The denial of this sacred right is a tragic betrayal of the highest mandates of our democratic tradition, and it is democracy turned upside down. So our most urgent request to the President of the United States and every member of Congress is to give us the right to vote. Give us the ballot, and we will no longer have to worry the federal government about our basic rights. Give us the right to vote, and we will no longer have to worry the federal government about our basic rights." King, like Archbishop Tutu, preached that everyone is beloved and that humanity is interconnected. You are my brother, you are my sister, you are my siblings, regardless of any differences in our background. Desmond Tutu called this Ubuntu. A person is a person through other people. or we are human because we all belong. We need each other human beings to be human ourselves. And he also said, Tutu, the solitary, isolated human being is a contradiction in terms. Think of that. The isolated, solitary human being is a contradiction in terms. We need one another to be human because we belong together. King said it another way. All humanity is involved in a simple process. All men are brothers. He didn't say all women are sisters, but all people are related. To the degree that I may harm my brother, he said, no matter what he is doing to me, to that extent I am harming myself. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. The self cannot be self without other selves. We are created to be in relationship with one another. It is not surprising to me that Jesus' first sign was in the midst of a community, a large, joyous wedding celebration, where the whole community was gathered together to celebrate the love of those who were joined in marriage. The prophet Isaiah declares, "You shall be a crown of beauty in the land of the Lord, a royal diadem in the hand of your God. You shall be called, my delight is in her. Your God rejoices over you." Wow, isn't that amazing? God rejoices over you, over me, over all that God created. God rejoices over all of us, even those whom we have a hard time loving ourselves, and even, maybe especially even, over those whom we detest. God rejoices over everything that God created. God's abundant and extravagant love is without bounds. It is overwhelming, like the amazing amount of the very best wine that Jesus transformed from water. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. knew in his heart that God rejoiced over him and over all people. His ministry and his mission was to bring God's dream of beloved community to all people and to expand equality and justice for all. His dream was to allow others to experience, to know, and to reach the mountaintop. And in spite of threats to his life, to the bombing of his home, and to the violence and hatred he endured, he still believed and preached about peace and God's love and abundance. Forgive me for quoting him again, but his words need to be heard this day. He said, "Somehow we must be able to stand up before our most bitter opponents and say, we shall match your capacity to inflict suffering by our capacity to endure suffering. We will meet your physical force with soul force. Do to us what you will, and we will still love you. But be assured that we will wear you down by our capacity to suffer, and one day we will win our freedom. We will win not only freedom for ourselves, we will also appeal to your heart and your conscience that we will win you in the process, and our victory will be a double victory. A double victory, a victory for those who are oppressed and for the oppressor. Humanity intertwined, Ubuntu, mutuality. We are all human because we belong to one another. And God rejoices over all of us. In closing, I want to share a final quote from Martin Luther King from his last address to the Southern Leadership Conference before his untimely death. There is nothing wrong with power if power is used correctly. And one of the greatest problems of history is that the concepts of love and power have usually been contrasted as opposites, polar opposites, so that love is identified with a resignation of power and power with a denial of love. Now, power properly understood is nothing but the ability to achieve purpose. It is the strength required to bring about social, political, and economic change. He said, what is needed is a realization that power without love is reckless and abusive, and love without power is sentimental and anemic. Power at its best is love, implementing the demands of justice, and justice at its best is power correcting everything that stands against love. My friends, may we use our power with love to implement the demands of justice, correcting or working to correct everything that stands against God's overwhelming, extravagant, and abundant love, and equality and justice for all God's children. Amen.